What attracted you to the project?
Well, what attracted me, first of all, was Mr. Altman. I mean, his name is so, well, revered is not too strong a word amongst actors. I mean, it's what I was saying the other night. It's sort of, all actors hear about what directors are like, and Altman is way up there on the top of the list of a director that actors do want to work with. And I must say, I was just thrilled when he asked me, and he explained to me what it was about. I just thought, this is the biggest thrill. Felt like being in a grown-up movie, if you know what I mean.
After Harry Potter.
Not as opposed to Harry Potter, but as opposed to a lot of films, you know.
But so why does Altman have this reputation with actors?
Because I think he's made so many fantastic films, and he does work with an ensemble. And once you realised, also because I realised I'd be working with a lot of my peers and people that I'd worked with before and had known forever and a day, even if I hadn't appeared with them before. So that was a very comforting feeling. And we all just had a very good time, which is very rare.
Gosford Park obviously is a film about class.
Yes.
And was there a certain irony that it was being made by an American director?
I suppose so, except that he's a very classy American. I mean, what can you say? I suppose it does seem odd, but because he had a sort of an outside view in, I think it was all the stronger. His observation is so acute, you know.
Is it sometimes, do you think, like that it takes an outsider to...
I think sometimes it does. I mean, I really don't know. I'm not a great... I'm not sure about films. They're kind of a mystery to me. But I think that's probably so. Yeah, I think he was very intrigued by it, because Julian Fellowes had written a very accurate script and was very precise about all the manners and the mores of the time. So it was... And they collaborated a lot. But I think it's probably true that he could observe it, and because he had an American running through it who could comment on it and things, that helped.
I thought, for me, one of the lovely comments about the class divide was in the scene where Ivan Novello, Jeremy Northam, is singing.
Yes.
And it's the downstairs, the staff who are absolutely transfixed.
Yes, that's enchanting, isn't it? They're all... And that's quite interesting, because that's kind of a shift in the whole thing, because that was when films took over and it became a common thing, you know, it became a usual thing for everybody of every class.
Also, I found intriguing Altman's casting in some other unlikely people, perhaps, playing the servants, like Derek Jacobi and even Alan Bates. I mean, you're wonderful in the role you play, but I mean, would you have liked to play the Helen Mirren role, for instance?
I would have been very happy playing any role. Absolutely any role, but I'm limited by my age, so that sort of cuts things down a bit. So, but I would quite happily have been upstairs, downstairs, or on the mezzanine in that film. I would have been anywhere.
One of the crucial things about the film is the importance of etiquette.
Yes.
And the proper way to behave. And I'm told that you had sort of more or less lessons in etiquette, which I'm sure you didn't need. But
I think probably very, very much I needed. We had lessons in all kinds. We had lessons in bridge playing, which was quite nightmarish because that seems to be so complicated to me. And I'm not quite sure that we had lessons, but we certainly, again, Julian was the one who said, no, this is what you do, and when you're sitting at table, you speak to the person on your left, and then you speak to the person on your right, you know. So, yes, we were coached somewhat.
His techniques are very different from most other filmmakers. I mean, for example, you never quite know if you're on camera or not. Is that right?
I think that's true because he has cameras moving about a lot, whizzing away all the time. But I'm not in a position to say what it's really like about working in film. But what I found interesting in this was, I mean, mostly when I work, I do cameos or small parts. Every single part in this was a small part. So everybody felt very involved. When you're playing a small part, usually you arrive on a film set and you don't know half the people and you are very frightened and you're in and out and you're meant to sort of deliver a performance very instantly. And you didn't feel that with Altman at all. You felt very relaxed because he has a very relaxed manner. And I think the fact that it was all even Stevens, you know, everybody was, there was not a big star anywhere, you know.
I believe he also has you all mic'd individually.
Yes, yes, we were. That gives the impression that we improvised the whole thing, which is far from the truth. I mean, Julian had written an extraordinary script, but it meant that because the cameras were there all the time, that you couldn't just say your lines and stop stone dead, because you were still being observed or overheard, in fact. So the dialogue sort of threads in and out. But of course we improvised to the extent that we didn't want to look absolutely stupid because we didn't know what was creeping up behind us, which was usually a camera.
So does that mean that when you see the finished film, there's lots of surprises for you?
No, not that there were lots of surprises. What surprises me when I see the film, and last night was the third time I'd seen it, was there is so much more to see each time. I think it's such a dense film, there's so much going on that you can miss things. So it's quite a treat to go back, and you can almost follow another thread, another person. You think, well, I'm going to concentrate on that character this time round and see where that leads you. And they're all intriguing because they go on and on and on. They don't appear, do a scene, vanish, and then reappear. They're kind of always there, a living thing.
From what you've said, I get the impression that you don't normally enjoy films as much as, say, theatre.
Well, it goes back to what I was saying, that because I'm always in supporting roles or in little roles or cameos, and you do not feel involved. So there's a very strange feeling, because when you work in the theatre, as I do most of the time, that is a very close-knit group of people, and you, obviously because you rehearse for a long time and you play for a long time. But one had that feeling doing this film because it was a group of people and we were all working together. You didn't feel... I just often feel very remote in films. I feel that I don't quite... It's very odd to be in a film, for example. I remember almost the first one I ever did, I was in a film with James Mason, which absolutely blew me away, but I never met him because I was just sort of in and out. Mm. And that's a strange thing, because you don't feel connected to anything.
But, I mean, you had starring roles in a number of films. So.
What, a number? I don't think so.
Well...
No, I haven't really.
Some that really stand out.
I haven't, and...
Well, Travels with My Aunt.
Well, as a lot of things are, that was by accident. That was because Katharine Hepburn withdrew, so that happened sort of overnight, and one was ill-prepared for it. But on the whole, my parts are the smaller ones.
But sometimes it's the small parts that you really remember.
No, that's fine. All I'm saying is that usually because they are like that, and because you are, you know, a film can take 6-8 weeks to shoot and you're employed for 2 days. That is a very strange feeling. So you don't know the crew, you don't have time to. So you just feel very removed from it.
Great affection for a role, very small role you played in a film I absolutely adore called The Pumpkin Eater.
Well, that was where I was in a film with James Mason, you see. Never came across him at all. Well, I did later, when we were all playing small parts yet again. But that was the film I meant. Yeah. And that's very strange. Yeah. Somebody you just think is wonderful. I mean, I just was swooning with delight, but of course never clapped eyes on the gentleman.
So it's possible then for actors to be as starstruck as members of the audience about other actors?
Oh, I think so, very much so. Well, I certainly am.
Can you just say maybe some of the great actors you've worked with? Can you?
Well, in the theatre, Sir Lawrence, I suppose, or Lord Olivier. It's an off-the-wall question in a funny kind of way. I can't go back over my career so suddenly. But quite a few. Not as many as I would like to. There's some I haven't worked with I would have loved to. I didn't work with John Gilbert, but I was directed by him.
Last question. About a new generation discovering you through the Harry Potter films, because I guess you've done another one, or doing another one now.
Yes, we're in the middle of it now.
Yeah. How do you feel about that? That you know, the 12-year-olds are saying,
Well,
"Gosh, Maggie Smith."
I think it's lovely. It's very interesting because where I live in quite a small square in London. There are a lot of children there. And now I feel rather like the Queen Mother when I go into my house, because they line up in awe, you know, sort of almost curtsy to me, because they think Professor McGonagall is in their midst and I might do something magic to them. And that's sort of extraordinary. It really is strange to be, you know, little people swivelling around in supermarkets gazing at you, you know, thinking, am I seeing what I think I'm seeing, or is this another world? Or what is she doing with all these muggles, these ordinary people?
Maggie, thank you very much.
Thank you.